Welcome to second year BSc fourth semester mathematics students. This is KVR Narasimha, lecturer in mathematics, Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Science, Amalapuram, East Godavari district, affiliated to Adikavi Nana University, Rajahmundry. In the fourth semester, your paper title for mathematics subject is real analysis. In the real analysis, we have 5 units. Before going to the original subject for the real analysis, we should learn certain basic concepts which are very much applicable in the future subject discussions. Hence, I have already completed one lesson, that is lesson number 1 of unit 0 of real analysis of second year BSc mathematics. In that lesson, I have explained real number system, extended real number system, and the boundedness concept. First of all, once we rewind what we have learned earlier, for that, what is meant by a real number system? A real number system is an undefined set satisfying 16 conditions or axioms. The first 11 are field axioms, next 4 are order axioms, and the last one is completeness axiom. That is, if a non-empty set R satisfying these 16 conditions, then the set R is called a real number system. Extended real number system is a real number system such that if the R having 2 more symbols, minus infinity plus infinity, is called an extended real number system. Using these extended real number system, we have defined inductive set, natural number set, integers set, rational number set, irrational numbers set. Rational number set is a ordered field because it obeys 11 plus 4, 15 axioms. N, Z does not obey all the 15 axioms. Q obeys the 15 axioms. That's why Q is called an ordered field. R obeys the 16th condition, that is completeness axiom also. Hence, R is called a complete ordered field. That what we have learned earlier. In addition to that, I have also explained the concept of boundedness. This boundedness is also very important and frequently using these terms in the future subject discussions. For that, first of all, I have explained bounded above, upper bound, bounded below, lower bound, and exact bounds. First of all, what is an upper bound? If S is an aggregate, what is meant by aggregate? Aggregate is a subset of R. Any subset of R is called an aggregate. Hence, phi is an aggregate, R is an aggregate, N is an aggregate. Now, for the defining bounded above and upper bound, let S be an aggregate. X belongs to S if there exists a real number U. If there exists a real number U such that X less than or equal to U for all X belongs to S. Whatever element in X in S must be less than or equal to U for any U that you have to choose from the real numbers. Then that U is called an upper bound of the aggregate A, and the aggregate A is said to be a bounded above set. If an aggregate does not having an upper bound, then the aggregate is said to be unbounded above. Unbounded above. Next one is lower bound and bounded below. If S be an aggregate, X belongs to S. If there exists a real number L belongs to R such that X greater than or equal to L for all X belongs to S, then L is called a lower bound of S. That is, whatever element in S must be greater than or equal to some L belongs to R. Then that L is called lower bound of S. Then the aggregate S is said to be a bounded below set or bounded below aggregate. If an aggregate does not having a lower bound, then the aggregate is said to be not bounded below. Now we go to the concept of exact bounds. Exact bounds are otherwise called supremum and infimum. What is a supremum? If S be an aggregate, U be an upper bound of S, any upper bound of S. If there exists V belongs to R, also an upper bound of S, and V less than or equal to U for all U belongs to R, then V is called least upper bound or supremum or exact upper bound of S. Next, if S be an aggregate, L be a lower bound. If there exists another lower bound, M belongs to R, such that M greater than or equal to L for all L belongs to R, then M is called greatest lower bound or infimum or exact lower bound. Next one is what is meant by boundedness of an aggregate. If an aggregate is both bounded above and bounded below, then the aggregate is said to be a bounded aggregate. That is, if K1 be a lower bound and K2 be an upper bound of an aggregate S for X belongs to S, then if S is bounded aggregate implies K1 less than X less than K2 for all X belongs to S. This is the boundedness. If S is not bounded, then the aggregate is said to be an unbounded aggregate. An unbounded aggregate. For example, Z plus having lower bound, Z minus having upper bounds, Q does not having a lower bound or upper bound, R does not having a lower bound or upper bound, and now we go to what is meant by oscillation of an aggregate. What is meant by oscillation of an aggregate? The difference between supremum and infimum of an aggregate, the difference between supremum and infimum of an aggregate is called oscillation of an aggregate. That is, oscillation is equal to supremum of S minus infimum of S. That is oscillation of an aggregate. That means subtracting the infimum value of an aggregate from supremum value of an aggregate, we will get oscillation of the aggregate. For example, if A equal to the set A, set 2, 5, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, 7, 11 by 5. Find the infimum, supremum and oscillation of A. For that, first we have to arrange the aggregate A in ascending order or some in descending order. First of all, let us arrange in ascending order. Hence, A equal to set 3 by 2, 2, 11 by 5, 5 by 2, 5 and 7. Because of arranging in ascending order. From the aggregate A, supremum is 7, infimum is 3 by 2. This implies oscillation is 7 minus 3 by 2 equal to 11 by 2. One more example, that is A equal to set 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5, etc. Therefore, supremum value is 1, infimum value is 0. Therefore, oscillation is equal to 1 minus 0, that is 1. Now, we go to the completeness axiom and Dedekind's axiom. We have already learned 3 axioms are there: field axioms, order axioms and completeness axiom. I have already explained in lesson number 1 regarding the field and order axioms very well. Now we go to what is meant by completeness axiom. The statement of completeness axiom is, if an aggregate A has an upper bound or lower bound, then the aggregate has supremum or infimum. That is, if an aggregate having an upper bound, then it must be have supremum. Similarly, if an aggregate having lower bound, then it must has infimum. That is the completeness axiom statement. Q obeys field axioms, 11 field axioms, 4 order axioms. But Q does not obeys this completeness axiom. Therefore, Q is only an ordered field, whereas R obeys all the 16 conditions, 11 field axioms, 4 order axioms and 1 completeness axiom. Hence, R, the real number system, that is the extended real number system, R is a complete ordered field. R is a complete ordered field. Now we go to what is meant by Dedekind's axiom. Dedekind's axiom. If A and B are two non-empty aggregates such that A intersection B is equal to phi, A union B is equal to R. Second condition, if X belongs to A, Y belongs to B, implies X less than Y. Then there exists alpha belongs to R, implies X belongs to A, Y greater than alpha implies Y belongs to. What is the statement Dedekind's axiom? If A and B are two non-empty aggregates, X comma Y are two elements, X belongs to A and Y belongs to B. The intersection of two aggregates is null set, and the union of two aggregates is real number system, extended real number system. If X belongs to A, Y belongs to B, implies X must be less than Y. Then there exists alpha belongs to R implies X belongs to A, Y greater than alpha implies Y belongs to B. This is called Dedekind's axiom. Two axioms at now I have explained. Completeness axiom, Dedekind's axiom. Completeness axiom implies and implied by Dedekind's axiom. That means completeness axiom implies Dedekind's axiom, Dedekind axiom implies completeness axiom. Now we go to Archimedean property or Archimedes property. If X comma Y belongs to R and X greater than 0, then there exists a natural number n, small n belongs to capital N, such that nx greater than y. This is the Archimedean property. Once again, if X comma Y belongs to R and X greater than 0, then there exists n belongs to capital N such that nx greater than y. Using this Archimedean property, we come to certain conclusions. That is, if X belongs to R plus, that is positive real number set, then there exists small n belongs to capital N such that 0 less than 1 by n less than x. 0 less than 1 by n less than x. If X belongs to R only, then there exists n belongs to capital N such that n greater than x. There is only one element x. Next one. If x belongs to R, then there exists a unique n belongs to Z such that n less than or equal to x less than n plus 1. Then n is called integral part of x denoted by square bracket x. Now integral part. Now we come to integral part and rational part. For that, if x is a real number, then there exists only one n, small n, natural number, such that n less than or equal to x less than n plus 1. Then n is called integral part of x denoted by square bracket x. And x minus square bracket x is called fractional part of x. Fractional part, integral part and fractional part. For example, square bracket 5.2 is equal to 5 because 5.2 lies between 5 and 6. N is equal to 5, n plus 1 is equal to 6. It must be equal to n. Therefore, square bracket 5.2 is equal to 5. Square bracket 5.1 is also 5. Square bracket 5.7 is also 5. 5.9 is also 5. 5.9999 is also equal to 5. That is the integral part. Similarly, square bracket minus 5.2 is equal to minus 6. Because minus 5.2 lies between minus 6 and minus 5. Minus 6 less than minus 5. Therefore, the value of minus 5.2 is equal to minus 6. Next point. Supremum of A plus B. If A and B are two aggregates, then supremum of A plus B is equal to supremum A plus supremum B. Infimum of A plus B is equal to infimum A plus infimum B. Supremum of minus A is equal to minus infimum of A. Infimum of minus A is equal to minus supremum of A. Supremum of A minus B is equal to supremum A minus infimum B. Infimum A minus B is equal to infimum A minus supremum B. Now, based upon these formulae, now we will solve certain problems, that is regarding infimum and supremum. The infimum and supremum of the aggregate A is equal to set of 1 by n such that n belongs to capital N. That is, A equal to set of 1 by n such that n belongs to n is equal to 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, etc. 1 by n, etc. As n increases, 1 by n tends to 0. So, minimum value is 0, maximum value is 1, therefore, infimum is equal to 0, supremum is equal to 1. Next problem, problem number 2. Find the infimum and supremum of A equal to 2 plus minus 1 whole power n by n. N belongs to n. What is the aggregate A? 2 plus minus 1 whole power n by n such that n belongs to capital N. From this, let A belongs to capital A implies A equal to 2 plus 1 by n for n is even, 2 minus 1 by n for n is odd. We know that 2 plus 1 by n for all values of n lies between 2 and 3. Therefore, 1 less than or equal to A less than 3. Therefore, 1 is lower bound and 3 is upper bound of 2 plus or minus 1 by n. So 1 is lower bound and 3 is an upper bound. 2 minus 1 by 1 is equal to 1 belongs to A and it is also a lower bound. Therefore 1 is infimum of A. 2 plus 1 by 2 is equal to 5 by 2 belongs to A. 2 plus 1 does not belongs to A. Therefore 2 plus 1 by n, 1 by 2 is equal to 5 by 2 belongs to A. Therefore supremum of A is equal to 5 by 2. Now we go to another problem, that is find the infimum and supremum of the set x belongs to R plus such that x cube less than x. Whatever element that you have chosen for the aggregate A, the real number x must be positive. What is the aggregate? X belongs to R plus such that x cube less than x. Implies x belongs to R plus x cube minus x less than 0. Implies x belongs to R plus x cube minus x can be written as x into x square minus 1 less than 0. X not less than 0 because x belongs to R plus. Therefore x square minus 1 less than 0. X square minus 1 less than 0 implies minus 1 less than x less than 1. But x not belongs to negative values. Therefore x runs from 0 to 1. Therefore infimum is 0 and supremum is 1. That is the next problem. Now we go to another problem. Find the infimum and supremum of the aggregate A is equal to 1 by n plus 1 by 3 power n such that n belongs to capital N. This aggregate A can be split into two sub-aggregates. That is A equal to 1 by n, set 1 by n, n belongs to n. B is equal to set 1 by 3 power n, n belongs to capital N. Therefore, the given aggregate S is equal to A plus B. Because what is the aggregate given to us? S is equal to set of 1 by n plus 1 by 3 power n. Small n belongs to capital N. So, this aggregate can be split into two sub-aggregates. Say A, that is capital A is equal to set of 1 by n such that n belongs to capital N, and capital B is a set 1 by 3 power n, n belongs to capital N. Now, we can use the formula, that is supremum of A plus B, infimum of A plus B in this problem. What is infimum of A? Infimum of A equal to 0, supremum of A equal to 1. We have already learned this is a sequence of 1 by n. Now, infimum of B is equal to 0, supremum of B equal to 1 by 3. Now, infimum A plus B is equal to infimum A plus infimum B. So, 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. That is infimum of S. Supremum S is equal to supremum A plus B is equal to supremum A plus supremum B. 1 plus 1 by 3 equal to 4 by 3. Now, fifth problem. Find the infimum and supremum of set of 1 by 2 power n plus 1 by 3 power n plus 1 by 5 power n. 3 sub-aggregates. We can split into 3 sub-aggregates, say set of 1 by 2 power n, n belongs to n. Set of 1 by 3 power n, n belongs to n. Set of 1 by 5 power n, n belongs to capital N. For all the aggregates, infimum of 1 by 2 power n is equal to 0. Infimum of 1 by 3 power n is equal to 0. Infimum of 1 by 5 power n is also 0. Therefore, infimum of the aggregate 1 by 2 power n plus 1 by 3 power n plus 1 by 5 power n equal to 0 plus 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. Supremum of 1 by 2 power n is equal to 1 by 2. Supremum of 1 by 3 power n is equal to 1 by 3. Supremum of 1 by 5 power n is equal to 1 by 5. Therefore, supremum of the aggregate set of 1 by 2 power n plus 1 by 3 power n plus 1 by 5 power n is equal to 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 5 is nothing but 31 by 30. Now we go to another problem. Find the infimum and supremum of 1 by 2 power n minus 1 by 3 power n such that n belongs to capital N. In this problem, we may use infimum a minus b and supremum a minus b. What is infimum a minus b? Infimum a minus supremum b. What is supremum a minus b? Supremum a minus infimum b. Infimum a is equal to 0. Infimum b is equal to 1 by 2. Infimum a is equal to 0 and supremum a is equal to 1 by 2. Sorry. Infimum a is equal to infimum 1 by 2 power n is equal to 0. Supremum a is equal to supremum 1 by 3 power n is equal to 1 by 3. Infimum b is equal to 1 by 0. Supremum of b, supremum of 1 by 3 power n is equal to 1 by 3. Therefore, infimum a minus b is equal to infimum a minus supremum b. Therefore, 0 minus 1 by 3 is equal to minus 1 by 3. That is infimum of 1 by 2 power n minus 1 by 3 power n is equal to 0 minus 1 by 3 equal to minus 1 by 3. Now, supremum of a minus b is equal to supremum a minus supremum b is equal to 1 by 2 minus supremum a minus b is equal to supremum a minus infimum b is equal to 1 by 2 minus 0 is equal to 1 by 2. Now we go to 7th problem. Find the infimum and supremum of 1 by n plus 1 by 2 power n such that n belongs to capital N. This case also dividing the aggregate into two sub-aggregates, say set of 1 by n, set of 1 by 2 power n. Compute the infimum of first aggregate, supremum of first aggregate, infimum of second aggregate and supremum of second aggregate. Now, infimum of 1 by small n plus 1 by 2 power n, n belongs to capital N is equal to 0 plus 0, because infimum of 1 by n is 0, infimum of 1 by 2 power n is also 0. Supremum of 1 by n plus 1 by 2 power n, supremum of 1 by n is equal to 1, supremum of 1 by 2 power n is equal to 1 by 2. Therefore, supremum of 1 by n plus 1 by 2 power n is equal to 1 plus 1 by 2 is equal to 3 by 2. Now we go to another problem, that is find the infimum and supremum of the aggregate set of 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1. Once again, 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1 such that n belongs to capital N. Let A belongs to this aggregate means A equal to 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1. Dividing this element by for the numerator and denominator by n, we will get 3 plus 2 by n by 2 plus 1 by n. Infimum of 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1 belongs such that n belongs to capital N is equal to 2 plus 0 by 2 plus 0, because infimum of 3 is 3, infimum of 2 by n is equal to 0, therefore 3 plus 0 by infimum of 2 plus 1 by n is 2 plus 0. On simplification, infimum of 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1 set is n belongs to n is 3 by 2. Supremum of 3n plus 2 by 2n plus 1, n belongs to capital N, is equal to 3 plus 2 by 1 by 2 plus 1 by 1, nothing but 5 by 3. This is another problem. Now we go to one more problem on the infimum and supremum, that is, find the infimum and supremum of the aggregate x belongs to R, comma x greater than 0 and x square less than 2. Once again, find the infimum and supremum of x belongs to R, x greater than 0, comma x square minus 2 less than 0. This implies x belongs to R, x greater than 0, comma minus root 2 less than x less than root 2, because x square minus 2 less than 0. X square less than 2 means x square minus 2 less than 0. That means minus root 2 less than x less than root 2, but x greater than 0. Therefore, infimum, that is the aggregate A is equal to x belongs to R, 0 less than x less than root 2. X belongs to R plus 0 less than x less than root 2. Therefore, infimum is 0, supremum is root 2. Now we go to another concept which is also very much frequently rewinding in the future subject discussion, that is intervals. Let A be an aggregate. Let A be an aggregate. X comma y belongs to A. A belongs to small a belongs to capital A. X less than A less than y implies small a belongs to A. Then A is called an interval. Let A be an aggregate. X comma y belongs to A. A belongs to A. X less than A less than y implies A belongs to capital A. Then A is called an interval. That is the definition of interval. The standard sets n, z, q are not intervals, but phi and r are intervals. Null set is an interval. Real number set is an interval. N is natural number set is not an interval. Q is not an interval. Z is also not an interval. Now, dividing the intervals into various types: open interval, close interval, left open, right close, right open, left close. These two are semi-intervals. What is open interval? The set of x belongs to R, A less than x less than B. The set of all x belongs to R, small a less than x less than B is equal to open brackets small a comma b is called an open interval. Now another set of x belongs to R, A less than or equal to x less than or equal to b, whereas in the open interval A less than x less than b. Now A less than or equal to x less than or equal to b is equal to square bracket AB is called closed interval. Is called closed interval. Now another set of x belongs to R, A less than or equal to x less than b. That is square bracket A comma b small bracket is left closed right open interval. Now another set x belongs to R, A less than x less than or equal to b, open bracket A comma b closed bracket. is a left open, right closed interval. Now another set, x belongs to R, x greater than A is open bracket A infinity. X belongs to R, x greater than or equal to 0 is a semi-closed A infinity, that is left square bracket A infinity closed open bracket. X belongs to R, x less than A is open bracket minus infinity, open bracket minus infinity, comma, open bracket one minute. X belongs to R, x greater than 0 is open interval A infinity. X belongs to R, x greater than or equal to A is semi closed interval, semi interval, square bracket A, comma infinity, open bracket. Another set, x belongs to R, x less than A, open interval minus infinity, A, open interval, close. X belongs to R, x less than or equal to A, open bracket minus infinity, A, closed bracket. Now we go to neighborhood of an interval. What is meant by neighborhood of an interval? If A belongs to R, epsilon also a real number and it must be greater than 0. Then an open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon is called neighborhood of epsilon, neighborhood of A, denoted by n suffix epsilon within brackets A, n epsilon, or n open bracket epsilon comma A is called epsilon neighborhood of A in the real number. Once again, if R be a real number set, A be any element in R, and epsilon be also another real number, must be greater than 0, very, very small quantity, then an open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon is called epsilon neighborhood of A in R, denoted by n epsilon A, n epsilon A minus singleton set A is called deleted epsilon neighborhood of A. That means omitting the element from the neighborhood, we will get deleted epsilon neighborhood. That is n epsilon A minus singleton set A implies mod x minus A less than epsilon, A not equal to x, x not equal to A. An aggregate A is said to be neighborhood of A belongs to R if there exists epsilon greater than 0 such that open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon is a subset of A. That is the condition for neighborhood of A. A be an aggregate is said to be a neighborhood. For A belongs to R, if there exists epsilon greater than 0, the open interval A minus epsilon, A plus epsilon must be subset of the aggregate, then the aggregate is said to be neighborhood of R, neighborhood of A in R. Now we go to, that is important conclusions based on the neighborhood concept. The natural number set n, integer set z, rational number set q, irrational number set r minus q, are not the neighborhoods of any element in them, are not the neighborhood. That means natural number set does not having any element as having neighborhood. Z, Q and R minus Q are not the neighborhoods of any of its elements, whereas R is a neighborhood of each of its elements. Rational number set, that is extended real number system. Extended real number system has a neighborhood of each of its element. A belongs to R. Open interval AB is a neighborhood of each of its element. Closed interval AB is a neighborhood of each of its element except the extremities. Next we go to the concept of limit point of an aggregate. What is meant by limit point of an aggregate? If A is an aggregate and if every neighborhood of P contains an element of A other than P, or if every neighborhood of P contains infinite number of elements of A, then P is called a limit point of an aggregate. Once again, limit point. If A is an aggregate, if P belongs to R, if every neighborhood of P, whatever epsilon that you have to choose for identifying the neighborhood, if every neighborhood of P contains an element of A other than P, or if every neighborhood of P contains infinitely many elements of A, then P is called limit point or cluster point. Limit point or cluster point of A. Null set having no limit points, finite set having no limit points, natural number set, integer set have no limit points. Whereas every real number is a limit point of Q. Every real number is a limit point of Q. Every real number is a limit point of R also. Aggregate may have several limit points. Among the limit points, one may be least and one may be greatest. Hence, an aggregate having least limit point and greatest limit point. So, for finding A, for example, A equal to set of 1 by n such that n belongs to capital N has a unique limit point 0. Now we go to Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem for aggregates. Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem for aggregate statement. Every bounded infinite aggregate has a limit point. If the aggregate is bounded at first, and it must be infinite, even though it has a limit point. But the converse may not be true. What is the Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem? If every bounded infinite set, bounded infinite aggregate has a limit point, but the converse need not be true. And the set of all limit points of an aggregate is called derived set, denoted by dA. Therefore, d phi is equal to phi, dn is equal to phi, dz is equal to phi, but dq and dr are same. dq is equal to r and dr is equal to r. Now, interior point and exterior point of an aggregate. If A be an aggregate, if A be an aggregate, if there exists a neighborhood of P which is entirely contained in A, then P is called interior point of A. If A be an aggregate, if there exists a neighborhood of P, every set does not having neighborhood. Some aggregates may have neighborhoods. Suppose if there exists a neighborhood of the aggregate S, say P, if there exists a neighborhood of P which is entirely contained in A, then A is called interior of the point A, and the set of interior points is called interior of A. Interior of A. Now, if P is an interior point of A, implies and implied by there exists epsilon greater than 0 such that n epsilon P is a subset of A. Now, open set and closed set. If every element of an aggregate is interior point of A, then A is called an open interval. That means for an aggregate A, there may have interior points. If every interior point of an aggregate is every element in the aggregate, that means if every element of the aggregate is also an interior point of A, then A is called open set. If A is an aggregate and R minus A is open set, then A is called closed set. Now we go to phi and R are open sets as well as closed sets. N, Z, Q are not open set, but Q, therefore Q is also not closed. Phi and R are both open and closed sets. N, Z, Q are open sets such that Q is not closed. Q is only open but not closed set. The union of arbitrary number of open sets is open. The intersection of arbitrary number of open sets is open. And the union of arbitrary number of closed sets is closed. The intersection of arbitrary number of closed sets is closed. For finite number of sets taken, then only the intersection property obeys. Now we go to our original topic in the next lesson, that is lesson number 1 of unit 1. Hence, my dear students, you all should listen these topics very carefully and with repeated number of times, then only you can understand the concept. These 2 lessons are very much used in the future subject discussion, but not much important for the examination point of view. So hence, my dear students, we will meet in the next lesson, that is lesson number 1 of unit 1, that is sequences of the subject paper, that is real analysis. Thank you very much. God bless you.